Why aren't you doing it? Testing. Oh, no. Really? Good morning. Sorry for the slow start here. This is VirtualPBX-admin training. And on your screen, you should be seeing dash login page, which is just dash.virtualpbx.com. And I'm just trying to make sure audio is going through. It's like it is. So we'll go ahead and continue on. So if you've just signed up with Dash, your username is going to be your email address you used to sign up with. Password should have been emailed to you after you completed the sign up. And then your account name is your company name. Now, if it's just something you sign up for your personal account, for just like and just you used your name, then it'll be your name as the account name. I usually recommend people just put the check mark for remember me. That way you don't have to remember passwords and whatnot. But if you ever forget, you've got the forgot info link here. So we'll go ahead and click sign in. Oh, didn't like that. Sorry, my streaming software doesn't like mistakes in the forms, so I have to basically recreate the browser and get back into it. All right, there we go. So I'm using a test account though with an established account. So when I log in, it takes me right here to our dashboard. If you're a new sign up, the first time you log in, the dash wizard will pop up. This basically will walk you through a couple things, most notably, which you can get back to here by clicking on your name, is your user and account settings. The main thing people change is typically your time zone. Now this is just for my user. I can also go up to the account level and change the default time zone here. When you're done with the dash wizard, you just hit close at the top right, and you're back here on the dashboard. Dashboard here shows your users, basically all the people who make and receive calls on your account. Down below that, Yeah, your total devices, I have 61, which is probably quite a bit for 26 users. And they're broken down. So soft phone, this is a software application on a computer, tablet, or cell phone that makes and receive calls, right? Uses its internet connection to make and receive calls, right? It was originally started for computers when before VoIP phones were really taking off. The web phone is a subtype of the soft phone, right? So it's for use with Chrome or Firefox on your laptop or desktop computer. You can then make and receive calls from the browser itself. Cell phone, pretty self-explanatory. SIP phone is a type of VoIP phone, right? So voice over internet protocol. And SIP is a subtype, right? There's other kinds of VoIP phones on the market, but we use SIP phones. So these are typically physical phones that sit on your desk. You pick up a handset, dial out, etc. And then landline, self-explanatory. The unregistered devices, in red here, 25, those are VoIP phones that the system says are not connected, meaning we can't send calls to it, we can't get calls from it. Then we got total phone numbers, 42. Depending on your plan, will determine how many phone numbers are included as part of your plan price, right? So minimum of 1. I think the most I saw was 15. If you go over that allotment, then it's $4.99 per month per phone number. And then we've got a couple of breakdowns here. So we have assigned numbers and spare numbers. Assigned numbers means you're using it. It's going someplace, right? It's one of your main numbers, for example, or it's going directly to one of your salespeople. It goes to your, support team group or an ACDQ, etc. Spare number, it's a number on your account. So if you're over your allotment, you will be charged for it, but it's not going anywhere right now. You're using it. You found a nice number. You're like, okay, we're going to use this for our promotion that's coming up for October, for example, but you're just holding on to that number ahead of time. Or conversely, it was a number that you're using for a special promotion. That promotion's over. You don't want to keep getting calls on it because just random people calling a number, or your robodialers say, oh, we'll just put it in spare, and no one can get through to us on that number. But you get to keep it so you can use it again later. Then the other breakdown, USDID and US toll-free. Right, toll-free, 800 number, 888-877, all the way down to 833 currently. USDID, that just means a US local number, right? So a number in, say, Los Angeles versus a number in Miami versus, say, in Phoenix, right? You can have different numbers in different areas. Conference bridges, these are the number of users that you said you've enabled conferencing on their user. That's a user feature. So those are the 5 people who can host, or you said these 5 people can host a conference. Over here, main number, these are your general numbers that your customers are calling to reach you, right? So they're going to call in. These numbers all behave the same way. So that people would call in, they would hear the same main greeting, for example, and then they would have the same initial routing. Next up, you get your conference numbers. Again, these are phone numbers people call into to access conferencing. Your fax box number, you can only have 1, and this is so you can receive faxes. Company directory, you can download the users. Your store discount code, just for being a Dash customer, you get a discount on anything you buy through our web store. You can access that by clicking or mousing over here, the little question mark icon, and online store. And you can use that to buy VoIP phones, for example. And then lastly, you have your account realm. You use this for a couple things. One, for outbound faxing. So to send a fax in Dash, you actually just create an email, right? It has to be from your login email address. But you create an email, in the to field, you put +1, right? So the plus symbol, the number 1, and then the area code and phone number you're faxing to, and the @ symbol, and then your account realm. And then you just attach a PDF or a TIFF file to the email, and you send it off. You can only have 1 attachment per email or per fax, right? So basically, you can't have like a signature file and a fax. You need to get rid of that TIFF file. Anything you type in the email will not be transmitted, right? So basically, the system gets the email, just lists that attachment, and sends the attachment only. over here on the left, this is your navigation through the major features, right? Main numbers, users, etc. I've covered the top here. This little question mark icon, you can get to support. You can chat with support here. You can go to our support pages. This is a web phone, and this only shows up once you've enabled a web phone on your user. And then the online store. You have this hamburger or the menu icon here. This gets to other features of your account. And as an admin, you have all of these features. Users typically only would have maybe queues if you have the ACD queues enabled, and they also have the user portal. Those are the two that pretty much everyone always has. But we're going to go over here to caller ID. So this is for one of your main numbers. This is a pull down typically. Not working on this, but you choose one of your main numbers, and then you have the company caller ID name, otherwise known as CNAME or CNOM, depending on who you talk to. This is for when you make an outbound call from a VoIP phone. You can have additional text show up as the company name as part of your caller ID. This is limited to 15 characters. Those 15 characters include spaces or special characters. Industry standard. Once you click Save Changes there at the bottom, this information gets sent to all the carriers who support CNAME. Then they update their servers. That takes about 3 business days, usually a little less, but 3 is a safe number to go with. So then after that, once you make an outbound call, as long as your call routes through carriers who support CNAME, when it gets to your destination, your company name would show up, or whatever text you showed up. Put it here. Now, not every carrier supports CNAME. I don't know why. They just have chosen not to. But that means calls can route through some of these carriers. Your CNAME information won't get through to your destination. And even for the carriers who do support CNAME, it's their lowest priority, right? They're primarily concerned with connecting the call and then showing the caller ID. And then they're like, oh, okay, we can show CNAME. So if they have heavier than expected call volume, so like during election time, that CNAME information may not go through. Obviously, if they're having a maintenance or an outage of some type, again, they're more concerned about getting the call connected first and foremost. All right, down below that, we have your company emergency address, or E911. Again, this is from your VoIP phones. This is going to be your company headquarters address, typically speaking. And this is the default address that is sent to emergency services. So any changes, you just click on Save Changes. All right, next up, we got hold music. So hold music on that is after your inbound caller has reached someone. Right, so call came in, your salesperson Bob gets his call, he's talking to the customer, gets, oh wait, I need to check something, let me put you on hold. He presses hold on his VoIP phone. This, by default, would be the music that plays. Now, you can upload your own files via .wav or .mp3. You want to make sure it's recorded in mono, and it's under 1 megabyte. 1 megabyte MP3 is roughly 5 minutes. All right, so you would click Upload here. You would find the file. You would click Upload, and then Save Change. Now, on top of that, there's a user feature for hold music, so you can have individualized hold music for each user. However, that's something as an admin you would have to set up for each user. All right, hours is actually part of the main numbers. So we'll get there. Now, let's go back up here. So main numbers, this is where you can unassign and assign your main numbers. If you need to add additional, you can either add from your spare numbers, or you can buy numbers here. And let's go 7-2. All right, so this is for basically Las Vegas phone numbers. Find one you like. You can actually add multiple at once. You see it's already says added one number. You click Buy Numbers. And this is all a part of the verifying that it's there, and boom, here's the new number. Now you can also buy numbers under the Numbers tab here, But basically, any place you can add a number directly, so like onto a user, to a group, etc., you can typically buy a number directly there instead of going through numbers and then grabbing it from spare. Just depends on what's easiest for you. All right, next up, we got office hours strategy. So if you just signed up, you're in 24-hour open office. Basically means, hey, the system's ready to take a call. Basically, your numbers won't ring busy. Basically, what's that saying? Now, most of our customers say, hey, open office hours, your custom office hours, let's do that. Each day of the week you're open, you put a check mark. And then on these boxes to the right, you set your open hours in 24-hour or military time. Right, so typically 9 to 5 in this case. You also have this little box down here at the bottom. Check if you're going to be closed for your lunch hours. Then you include your lunch, what your lunch hours are. Right, so basically the whole office shuts down for lunch because that's how your office is set up. The system will automatically know, hey, it's lunchtime. Boom, calls are going to go to the lunch settings. Office holidays, put a check mark if you're going to be closed for holidays, and then you add your holidays, and you got your choice of single day, a date range, and advanced. So single day, pretty easy. This one here on President's Day, just a day. Put the date. You click Save Changes. So then when February 18th comes around, boom, automatically going to be in holiday mode. Date range, like we have in Christmas time here, so December 23rd through December 26th. Again, from that time, we're going to be in holiday mode automatically. And then advanced is this retreat here where I'm just saying, hey, the first Friday in July, we're in a holiday. And then you would click Save Changes. This is the big one here, incoming call handling. So this is where you tell your system, for calls that come in on my main numbers, how are we handling it? Right. Notice here you've got, right now we're on open hours, but you've got what are you going to do during lunchtime, what do you do for after hours, and what do you do for holiday. And these are all for your main numbers. Okay, so they all have the same options. So the first one here is option comes in, goes to the virtual receptionist. This is a link. Boom, got the window. Now, on the left, we got your main menu, right? This is what people press on their phone to navigate through your phone system. On your right is your greeting. So the greeting is where you tell your customer what to press, right? And usually you say, thank you for calling. And then, for sales, press 1. For support, press 2, whatever. Whatever your setup's going to be. You click and add a route. And unfortunately, basically you have 0 through 9 plus a default route. And then you have options of where you want to send them. So little icon here with multiple people, that means it's going to a group. This here, that's going to a voicemail box. You have 2 actually going to a voicemail box. This is going strictly to one person, Bob. And then this is going to an ACD queue. Right, but you can always change these around. You can have it go to, okay, going up here. So you got ring groups, right? So a department essentially. Now you've got media files, so you can just have a greeting play. The downside of that is once the media file ends, then the call is ended as well. You can send it to a specific device, right? So someone's particular phone. Here are the queues. This would be, and you can also do specific users, and then the smart directory. Greetings, text-to-speech. You type in a greeting, you click update, you click save, then save changes. Greetings there, it's going to play. It's a computerized robotic voice. Upload your own file, again, .wav, .mp3, recorded in mono, under 1 megabyte. If you already have recordings, this will be a pull down. You can see your various files you can choose from. You can record it over the phone. Now, this PIN number changes by the time, right? So this is the open hours PIN, right? There's a different PIN number for lunch hours, for holidays, for after hours. Additionally, when you call in, your system needs to be in that particular mode. So if I want to change my open hours greeting I need to call in during open hours, enter this PIN number, and then record over the phone. Right? If I want to record for lunch hours greeting, the system has to be in lunch hours mode, etc. Another thing to keep in mind is if you already have a greeting in place, right? So you have greeting A is currently playing. So that greeting starts playing, you can enter the PIN number, and then the system will prompt you through recording a new greeting. However, that recording that you place takes the information, replaces what's already in greeting A. So greeting A, the file name stays the same, but the content will change with whatever you record over the phone. If you don't have a greeting in place, like you just signed up, then you don't have to worry about it because then it'll just use that recording and give it a file name. Professional services, you click order, it'll take you to a new different website. We've partnered with a company called Snap Recordings. They have 100 voices to choose from, both men and women. They have different versions of English, different versions of Spanish and French as well. So you can do multilingual greetings. They also have packages where you can do music and script. They have their own pricing. They bill separately from us. Then they send you the completed file via email, and then you can just upload. All right. And then down here we have settings. Basically, this is number of retries on misdial. Basically, say in this particular example, someone keeps pressing 7, which I don't have defined. Right. So they hit 7 once. System goes, that's an invalid entry, but would continue to play the greeting. They hit 7 again, and then the system would tell them, hey, we don't recognize your entry, and then would end the call. Now, the reason you would do that is basically it's a way to filter out robodialers, right? Robodialers will just hit your greeting and just sit there forever because they can't press a menu option. Now, if you had a default route in place, then that even after that second misdial, then the robodialer could get to the default route. But by having this in no default route, it's for actual people call. They'll press a menu option to get to someone. Anyway, any changes you make here, you click save. But you also need to remember click save changes here under incoming call handling. Otherwise, the changes won't go all the way through. All right. Second option, call comes in. I'm offering it to Bob, or then goes to the virtual receptionist. Basically, if Bob isn't able to answer, then it goes to virtual receptionist. Otherwise, Bob will pick up and help the caller or redirect them. Typically, what most people do in this instance is I actually don't have it sent to one person, but rather a ring group. Now let's go find one down here. So that way you have a group of people who may look like a receptionist group who can then answer the call and redirect them as necessary. If they're busy and they have heavier than expected call volume, then it goes to virtual receptionist. This virtual receptionist link, since it's still under open hours, matches what we saw previously. And then this last option, call comes in, again, offered to Bob in this case, and then goes to Bob's voicemail. You have all the other options as before, but there's one extra one way at the bottom here. Boom. You just skip it to voicemail. Just send it right to the voicemail box. Now, each of these subtabs for lunch, after hours, and holiday hours, their virtual receptionist is different. So you can set them up each individually to be, to match your needs for those time frames. All right, your main conference numbers. So again, when people dial in to access a conference, you have a custom greeting, which is just text-to-speech. I imagine at some point that may be changed to allow you to upload a media file, but I don't have an ETA on when that's going to happen. Again, you can add numbers or from your spare or by numbers. Your main fax box number, again, this is so you can receive faxes. If you click the Edit Facts box, a window will pop open with two fields. On this particular account, because it's a test account, it doesn't show properly. But basically, the first field is the email address that you want to receive faxes. It's going to be in PDF, typically by default. The second field is if you have your own email domain, right? So at abccleaners.com, right? Everyone in your company has an email address that ends in that. You can add that domain in that second field, click Save, and then anyone with that email address or email address that ends in at abccleaners.com can send a fax without being a user on the account, right? They just have to have the correct format. The +1 area code and phone number, @ account realm, attached PDF. All right, numbers. You show all the numbers on the account. This is numbers in use, so you see where they go. You can click the little gear icon so you can adjust the caller ID or the E911, right? So for numbers that go to, let's say, here to Taylor, he may not be at my main headquarters address, so I can then put in a different address here for him. Same with Nino, etc. Prepend, this is for your VoIP phone users. You can put text in front of the caller ID so your staff knows what the call might be about. SAN numbers, again, these are numbers you're not using, but they're still on your account. You can also buy numbers here so you can get them ahead of time. And the other thing here is the port. So port a number is basically moving a number from one carrier to another. So say from AT&T to VirtualPBX, for example. If you follow this process, but basically what it comes down to is we need a copy of your most recent bill from your current carrier, and then we need a completed letter of agency, or LOA. In this process, you can download a blank one. You can also find blank ones on our website under support, either under Dash support or vConsole support, the toll-free local letter of agency. The main things to remember on the LOA is that the company information must match what your current carrier has on file, right? So with us, your ABC Cleaners. With AT&T, your XYZ Cleaners. On the LOA, you'd want the XYZ Cleaners as a company name and whatever address they have on file for you. It does ask for a signature. The main thing is that can't be typed. It does actually need to be a signature, even if it's like a digital signature file that you put in there. That's fine. But then we submit that, and hopefully it gets approved. Now you can submit all that through this port process here, or you can email porting@virtualpbx.com with those documents and can initiate the port request that way. Toll-free numbers are fairly quick, typically in the range of 3 to 5 business days, assuming everything is correct. Local numbers can be anywhere from a day to 6 weeks, just depending on the carrier. Obviously, if there's any kind of problem, basically we get a rejection notice from the other carrier. We pass that information on to you saying, hey, like the address didn't match. That means you would need to contact your current carrier and say, hey, what address do you have on file for us? Get us the update, and then we can resubmit the port request. All right, users. Shows all the users on the account. You can add a user up here. You just enter the first and last name. The email address used for login, this needs to be unique for each user. And then you create a password. By default, a voicemail box is created for that user. I always suggest doing this last one here right away as well, is sending credentials to the user, so that way they have their login information. The middle two are basically up to you. Include in the user directory. All right, you can put a check mark there. And then send emails to alternate address. This will be in addition to the login address. Like you want it to go to their personal email address at home. And then you click create user or create user and add another. Oh, oops, forgot about the main extension number. So by default on this system, I started with extension 1000. So the system is telling me the next available extension number in that series is 1026. I can change this. I can make it, 5212. It doesn't have to follow the same series if I don't want it to. All right, so then you've got two different icons. You've got the little gray person versus the person with the blue suit. The blue suit person is an admin, right? So they can do all the changes we're talking about here. Whereas Bob here is your just standard user, so he has no admin functionality. If you click on a person's name, you can change their name. You can change their credentials, right? So the email address and the password. You also have a link right here to send their reset email, password reset email to the user directly, right? So a user who comes at you says, I can't log in, you're here, send their reset email, and that way they should be able to get back in that way, instead of having to create a new password for them every time. The change PIN, this is the voicemail box PIN number. Now, if your users are predominantly using VoIP phones, you do not have to create a voicemail box PIN number for them, because from their VoIP phone, they can pick up the handset, for example, hit *98. That will log them in directly to the voicemail box that phone is associated with, and the system will then prompt them to create a PIN number as well as record a voicemail greeting. If everyone's going to be using cell phones, or for any user who's making use of cell phones or landlines, then you do have to create a 4-digit PIN. Again, you have the option here to send an alternate email, or alternate email address, excuse me. Again, you have the option here to put in the user directory or not. This is a pull down, so you can change a user to an admin. If you just signed up, please don't change yourself from an admin to a user until you've added someone else as an admin, i.e. you want to make sure there's at least one admin on the account. This is your time zone, so you can change it by the pull down. This is your language, English, French, Russian, and I think German was recently added. The ringing timeout, this defaults to 20 seconds, which is plenty of time for a VoIP phone in general, or even a landline. If you're predominantly using a cell phone, you're going to want to put this up to like 45 seconds like it is here. And then changes. Here you've got the extensions. You can add additional extensions to users so they can have multiple, if you so desire. Again, you can have phone numbers for your staff members, right? So this phone number, anyone who dials this number goes directly to this user. If they don't go through the virtual receptionist or anything like that. Again, you can buy numbers or you can add some spares. Over here, we've got your devices. Got a few here. You can always add from new devices. So the first one is SIP phone, right? That's that physical VoIP phone that sits on your desk. If you have one of these manufacturers, you can select them and then find the specific model. When you select the model, it will then ask you to name the device and then enter the MAC address of that device. So the MAC address is typically a sticker on the back of the phone. Sometimes it's also on the box that the phone came in, and it's unique to that device. So then once you say create device and then you click save changes, as far as Dash is concerned, you're done. However, on the phone itself, you need to log into the phone's web UI, and we have instructions on our website, so you don't have to remember this. But basically, you would log in, you go to like the auto provision section, you enter in a specific URL. So that tells the phone, hey, go to this URL. Right? The phone gets on the internet, goes to that URL, and then basically it says, hey, here's my MAC address. Our server says, oh, I know who you are. I know what kind of device you are. Here's your configuration file. The phone gets the config file, usually reboots a couple times, and then the phone should be connected. You can make and receive calls, etc. The advantage of the auto provision devices is you can basically use almost all the functions that are built into that phone, versus like if you programmed it as a third-party device, you're basically getting basic phone functionality, right? Make and receive calls. Cell phone, pretty self-explanatory. You put a name, put +1 area code and phone number, click on create device, and then save changes. Now, so here's a cell phone. This is how it looks like by default under the advanced options. So when Dash offers a call to a cell phone or a landline, the phone will ring, and then you pick up, you'll hear, "This is a forwarded call. Please press 1." When you press 1, you're telling the system, yes, you are there, and yes, you're ready to take the call. It hears that tone, it connects the other person to you, and you start talking. Now, that's not always convenient for everybody. Some people don't want to press 1, they just want to pick up the call and go. Other times, they're not actually sending it, in this case, to a cell phone, but they're sending it to an automated answering service. That automated answering service can't press 1 either. So what you would do in either of those cases is you click this box here, which is allow use of cell phone's voicemail, and then click on Save Changes. So what that does is you don't have to press 1. We basically hear that pickup tone, and we connect the call. So your automated answering service can take over and handle the call, for example. Now, if you are sending it to a cell phone, that means if your cell phone voicemail picks up, the inbound caller ends up on your cell phone's voicemail box. Some people love that. Some people don't want to deal with that. The other thing that people tend to look at is this one here, is keep original caller ID. So if this is checked, like by default it is, then on your cell phone, you would see their phone number, the phone number of the person who's calling you. If you uncheck it, so do that here, then what happens is instead of you seeing their phone number, you see whichever phone number they called into, right? So like they called into your main number on your account with us. That would show up. So that's a way to let you know, oh, this is a business call versus some random telemarketer. But if you make any changes, click on Save Changes. All right, soft phone. Again, software application. You can run on a computer, tablet, cell phone, or you can also use a soft phone to program a phone that didn't show up on that SIP phone list. Please read this warning message. It is relevant for E911. So here you give it a device name, and then you have a SIP username, a SIP password, and your realm. So first and foremost, do not change your SIP username or password. Typically, once you change them, that usually breaks the connectivity between the phone and us. But you'd use these credentials to program, say, X-Lite from Counterpath, which is a soft phone application, or to program a VoIP phone that didn't show up on that list. Now, if instead you wanted to use the VirtualPBX soft phone application, you would click down here. It says Use Third-Party Application. Boom, it switches it to say Use VirtualPBX Application. You give it a device name, you click Create Device, you click then Save Changes right here. It would add it directly to this user. Then that user would get an email with the login information to the soft phone app. So if they're going to use it like on their cell phone, they can just go to their relevant app store and download it. Use those credentials, they're logged in. Now, we do offer the soft phone on Windows and Mac OS. Those, however, require a license fee. So you'd want to go up here and then order that through the online store. Oh, and then the other thing is the web phone. And you want to add the web phone, and if you're going to use the VirtualPBX soft phone, you want to add directly on the user page on the specific user that you're going to work with. But for the web phone here, you give it a name, you click Create Device, you click Save Changes. The web phone uses your same login information as your Dash user, right? So on dash.virtualpbx.com, you use your email address, password, and the account realm. For the web phone, you'd use that same email address, same password, same account realm. Now, likewise, you can get to the web phone here, but the web phone page is just webphone.virtualpbx.net. So now we got user features. So let's go over here. Caller ID number. This only applies to users that have their own phone number. And basically what you're saying is when you turn it on, you say, okay, use that phone number for when this user makes outbound calls, instead of defaulting to one of your main numbers on the account. Call forwarding basically says, if it's turned on, you're saying, hey, I'm not going to be at my normal phone, send a call to this other phone number. Now, this is something the users can turn on themselves, either through their user portal or if they're using a VoIP phone from the VoIP phone itself. The other thing is it's good for VoIP phone users is failover mode. Basically says, hey, the system will detect when a VoIP phone loses connection. So when it says that and a call comes into that user, it says, I have failover mode. I'm sending it directly to this device. Now, this device that you forward to should not be a device already on the user, right? It should be completely separate. Basically, it's a backup device that they only use sometimes. Versus any device you put on the user should be something they're basically using every day of the week. Hot desking is a VoIP phone feature. It comes into play for when you have staff members in a shared office environment where they may sit at different desks from day to day, so that they might be at a different phone from each day. So you basically create a hot desk ID. I usually say make it your extension number. You can have a PIN number, up to you. And then when you click Save Changes, what this does is I come in and I sit at desk 7 this morning. This is Tuesday, so I'm sitting at desk 7. I go to that VoIP phone, I pick it up, I hit *11. That enables hot desking on that phone. It asks me for my hot desk ID. I enter that, and it says calls will now be sent to this phone. So now any call that comes to my user will go to the phone that I'm sitting at. At the end of my day, I pick up the phone again, I hit *12 to turn off hot desking. Right, tomorrow morning, I come in, someone's already at desk 7. I'm like, oh, all right, there's desk 23. I'll sit there, do the same thing, *11. Then calls will come to me at that desk. Voicemail box, because by default, everyone has voicemail box. Fax box, you can have users with their own individual fax boxes. You can have their own phone number, or you can do an extension. The downside of having an extension, that means the inbound fax, the person who's sending the fax to you, they have to call your main number, right? That goes through the virtual receptionist. They hear the greeting, they enter in the extension number, and then they click Start Fax. And I don't know how well that works with email to fax services in general. So that's why for most people, I say just add a new number. That way they just enter the phone number and hit send fax, and they're done. Conference Bridge. Again, you enable it. This person can now host faxes. Shows you your fax numbers and your PIN numbers, and you can change them if necessary. Follow Me is if you have multiple devices. By default, here we go. Let's go back to how it would originally be set up. All right, so if I enable it, you see, by default, it says all your devices are not ringing. So you do need to decide, okay, which devices am I using? Let's say I'm just going to use these two. Now, right now, I have a 0 ring time, which is not very effective. This is your total ring time up here is 120 seconds. So what you can do is simply click Distribute. So then it's going to ring this one for 60 and another one for 60. Likewise, I can change the order. Click Distribute again, so I flip-flop it. These are sliders, so I could slide these like this, so that way it's just ringing both of them for the whole time until I pick up. Right, if I add in one of these other devices, I can then click Distribute again, and again, I can still move them around as I see. And then you click Save Changes. Music on hold. Again, this is for when this user decides to put someone on hold. You can upload the individual file, .wav, .mp3, recorded in mono under 1 megabyte, and then click Save Changes. Customized call recording. So let's set it back to default here, as if you haven't enabled it. All right, so when you enable it, this is what it looks like. So right now, I'm not recording any calls whatsoever. Now, inbound internal, this means a call from another coworker or another user on the account. Right? Inbound external means a call from outside the system, meaning probably a customer calling. Outbound internal means I called another user on the account, and then outbound external means I called a customer. So any of these you want to have call recording enabled on, you want to turn that on, and then you click on Save Changes. All right, let's go to ring groups. So groups is shorthand for ring group, basically a department. You click add group, and then you would give it a name, give it an extension number, and then you click and drag the people you want to be in the group. Then you click on create group. Once the group's created, you can click on the name here. You can change the name at any time. Then you got dialing repeats. Basically, this is the number of times someone can try to reach the members of the group. Right now, I have it set to 2. I've got little arrows here to the right, so I can adjust that up or down as I see fit. And then obviously, if you don't need a group anymore, you can delete it. If you click on the members box, you see, okay, these are all my members. This is the total ring time. Just like under Follow Me, I can adjust the order by clicking and dragging. I can click Redistribute. Again, these are sliders, so I can make them ring the entire time if I want to, etc. Okay, groups can have an extension number. They can have multiple extensions. Likewise, you can have a phone number go directly to a group. You can either add it from spare or buy new. And then we've got group features. Ringback is essentially a file that will play back while a customer is waiting for one of the staff members to pick up. Right, so you would click on this, click enable, then you upload the file. The main thing you want to make sure of is that this file length matches the ring time of your group. So on this particular group, it's 240 seconds. So I want to make sure that file can play for 240 seconds because the system will not automatically loop the file for me. Next action, if no one's able to pick up, where am I going to send the call to? In this case, I'm sending it to Bob's voicemail box, but you can send it to specific people. You can send it to the main virtual receptionist. You can send it to another group, etc. Allow call forwarding. Basically, if you enable it, that means you're allowing the users in the group to make use of call forwarding. And then caller ID prepend. This is for your VoIP phone users. You can put text here or numbers here just to give additional identification to what the call is about, right? So if you have people in multiple groups, for example, that will be helpful so they know, oh, this is about a billing issue versus, a shipping issue. Devices shows all the devices on the account. You can add the same devices here as you could under the user. The main thing is for the VirtualPBX soft phone or the web phone, you want to do that under the users. But anything else you can add here and then assign later as you need to. Oh, you can also turn a device off. So it's disabled so you're not using it like temporarily or what have you. You can also click the wrench icon so you can change the name of device. You can choose where to assign it, etc. Voicemail boxes shows all the voicemail boxes on the account, excuse me. Users will obviously have their own assigned to them automatically. You can create additional voicemail boxes as you need them, for instance, for your ring groups. Once you've created a voicemail box manually, you'd want to click on the wrench icon. So you would, or even when you create one, you give it a name, a voicemail box number, and a PIN number. Then you need to get a greeting media file. So you can either upload one if you already have one in place. Otherwise, you would have that PIN number, and then from a VoIP, you would call into the system, hit *97, and then the voicemail box number, and then the PIN number, and then you can record it over the phone that way. You would definitely want to add recipients to any voicemail box you create. So that way you know, or someone knows, when a voicemail box is left on that voicemail box. Just click add recipients and enter the email address. Click add, and you can keep adding multiple. So once you've had a voicemail greeting and the recipients, then you can check the already set up box here. And then the other one that you might consider is this one here, is delete after notification. Basically, by default, for any voicemail box, it's going to automatically send an email to the person associated with it, or under the recipients, or for a user's voicemail box to that user directly. And that email is going to include an attachment so they can listen to the voicemail. Now, voicemail boxes are limited to 100 messages. Once they hit that limit, then the inbound caller is told voicemail box is full, try again later. If you have delete after notification, you don't have to worry about a voicemail box getting full. And then click on Save Change. The Greetings Manager lets you see all your greetings that you have on the account. You can download them so you can then listen to them to make sure it's something you still want. If you click the little wrench icon, you can change the name, or you can delete the greeting. Call logs shows your call activity on the account. A green arrow to the right means a call came into the system. This yellow arrow to the left means it was an outgoing call. Basically, you made a call out. You can click on these and usually get some additional information about where they were going. Again, since this is a test account, I'm not really expecting a lot of actually connected calls. And you can click on these little hydrants here. It will create an email, and then you can send that to our support team saying, give us a description of what happened. Like, oh, this phone or this call never actually rang to my phone. So then we can take a closer look at what happened. Feature codes. Again, I've mentioned the *11 here for hot desking. This is the settings here for users to set up their own call forwarding. Now, these feature codes are typically based off of using a VoIP phone. However, the voicemail ones you can just use by calling in. And these are also published on our website under the support pages for Dash. All right, let's go over here to the menu icon here. So this is all under the dashboard. We also have ACDQs as well as ACDQs Pro. These are essentially more powerful versions of ring groups. The ACDQs, the standard product, I believe, is either $15 or $30 a month, depending on your plan, and that's per queue. ACDQs Pro, the last time I saw pricing was $99, but that may have changed. If that's something you're interested in, you might want to check with our services team to confirm pricing beforehand. Okay. Creating a queue, you would click on New Queue, and then once you're in that queue, right, up here, you give it a name. You give it a call-in number or extension, right? It can have either a phone number or an extension. If you wanted to have both, that would require custom work, which I don't know if there's a charge for that or not. That's not something I've been notified of one way or the other. General settings, queue call limit. 0 means there's no limit, but otherwise, if you put put 4 in here, for example, then you would limit the number of calls to 4 in the queue. Queue timeout, this is the maximum amount of time someone can wait on hold, measured in seconds. Timeout immediately is empty. If you toggle that on, that means if you have no agents logged in, the system will immediately time out any caller that comes into the system. All right, this one here is the 0 out to call flow. Basically, it means if I have an inbound caller in the queue while waiting on hold, they press 0. Right, by turning this on, you're enabling that. And then I'm sending it to this device, or usually a voicemail box. Display agents to other agents. Basically, you're just letting your agents see each other's statuses, right? So they can say if everyone's on a call or who's marked away, etc. Escalation handling, basically the queue timeout happens or the timeout immediately happens. You can send them to an additional queue. Again, that means you'd be paying for 2 queues at a minimum. Or in this case, over here, you can then instead send them to, say, a baseball box. All right, so now we got the routing strategy. So this is one of the big differences between groups and queues. So you've got most idle. Whoever's been waiting for a call the longest gets the next call that comes in. Least calls handled, basically who's had the least amount of connected calls would get the next call that comes in the queue. Least offers, who's had the least opportunity to have a call, right? So Bob's been offered 20 calls, Mary's only been offered 2 calls, Mary gets the next call that comes in. And then round robin basically equals out over time. The skills-based things, as far as I know, those are still in beta, so I don't really have access to what they can do. So hold treatment. So standard ACD queues, you can basically have a media file, and that's it. ACD queues Pro, you can have things like multiple media files, you can announce the wait times, you can announce their position, etc. So a lot more customizable there. Agent behavior, an agent connect timeout, basically how much time we're offering a call to a particular agent. You can also force away on missed or rejected, meaning if an agent doesn't pick up a call, the system will put them in away mode until that agent decides to put themselves back in ready mode. Allow agent recovery time, basically when they complete a call, you can give them time after that call before they're offered a second call, measured in seconds, in this case 10. You can also allow extensions, and then you have the option for allowing multiple extensions. Member assignment basically tells you who you're putting into a queue. And then review and confirm. Basically, you can print this out. So if you're testing something, you want to you can save it so that way you know, okay, this is how this behaved. Now let's change these other things, print it out, etc. Over here, we got the member icon, right? So person with a headset. You click Manage Members. So you can choose any one of your staff and then move them over here to the call center members. That way they're part of the group that can be in a queue. Once they're in this call center queue, you can assign them to specific queues. Now, one thing that the ACD Queues Pro offers is this thing here, the performance. So you can take multiple agents. I can add a row. Unfortunately, the pull down doesn't work, but then I can compare these 2 agents to basically see who's doing better, etc. Go back to the queues. Now up here, this is where agents would mark themselves as ready, or they end their session or away. This little phone icon, they can select which devices they're going to have their calls code to. Now, both on Queues and Queues Pro right now, calls will only be going to VoIP phone, whereas in a group, you can send calls to a cell phone or landline. So that's another major difference between the two. All right, Blacklist. If you click Edit Blacklist, basically what this does is you create a list of phone numbers, right? So you add a number, put +1 area code a number, and you're basically not allowing these phone numbers to connect to your system. So you add any number. If you choose Block Anonymous, that means we don't get an actual valid caller ID, or someone's blocking their caller ID. But then you put Save. You go back to Settings, and then you make sure it's in the Selected field, and you click Update. So now any phone number that was on this list, when they try to call my system, they get a busy signal. Any admin can get to any of the fax boxes on the account. So they can see the ingoing. They can go check the outgoing. They can also see the email and fax logs about why a fax failed. The monitor, this lets you show your status of your status of your staff. Excuse me. Green means they're waiting for a call. Blue means they're on an inbound call. Yellow means they're on an outbound call or external call. Red means they've marked themselves away, usually for the queues. And gold means they're on recovery time from a queue call. The recording manager, that goes to where your call recordings are stored, or AWS. Reports is currently in beta, so I don't have access to it to show you. User portal. All your staff will have a user portal. Now voicemails, this one's empty because one, it's a test account, but two, the user voicemail boxes, I have delete after notification, so there's nothing left here. If I didn't have delete after notification, I would see my voicemails here, so I could, listen to them. I could download them. I could say, hey, keep it saved, or I could get rid of it. Call history, I can see the history of my calls based on this date range. Faxes, you can see your inbound and outbound faxes, but I don't have any fax logs. The contact list, this is only within the account. You cannot add anything to this unless an admin adds like another user or another group, etc. Conference, this is where users would manage their conferencing. You can invite other users to the conference. You can lock it. You can mute everybody. You can unmute everybody. You can end the conference. When you're actually in a conference, on participants, for example, you can mute a specific participant or unmute them, as well as kick out a particular participant. And then settings and devices, this is where users can also set up their call forwarding themselves, and they can see the status of their devices. Voicemails, again, admins, you can get to any voicemail box on the account and see what they have, if anything. And then the last thing we saw down here is webhooks. That's if you want to use APIs to link Dash to other software. That's something, if you're interested in, you'd want to talk to our sales team about. Generally speaking, our support team doesn't have a lot of support for it. Basically, we turn it on and it goes into programming. But that is the Dash training for today. Let me check. Yeah, it looks like YouTube might be having some trouble with the chat feature. And actually, I guess I'm not really seeing anyone here. So I'm going to go ahead and end the stream now. Thank you for your time today. We are here basically every Tuesday, 10 a.m. Pacific. Again, these are all stored on our channel, so you can always come back at any time and watch any of the previous sessions, as well as we have one linked on our support page site. So basically, go to VirtualPBX.com, you can mouse over support, go to Dash support, and you'll get a link there for the videos that have for previous training, as well as some that are targeted to specific features.